and trusting that I'm receiving from source rather than making it up or thinking it. So that was great.
Well, you're never making it up. You're always getting it from somewhere.
Yeah.
But the question is, do you want what you're getting? It's like going to a restaurant where the food is never good and wanting them to give you something good. You might want to go to a restaurant where the food is good to get something that's good. It's sort of the same.
A few times when I've meditated, or quite frequently, I get to a place where, and you've talked about this before, where I start to feel a swooning. And it's exciting because
Don't let it be. Don't let it be exciting, and don't get your head wrapped around it too much, because you'll slow it down.
Well, that's exactly what happens,
Yeah.
is that I'm like, oh, this is exciting, and then I'm like, oh, it's also a little scary.
Your attention on it gets in the way of it too. So you just have to be soft and willing. Esther remembers those early feelings, and she discovered if she would offer the thought, I am ready, or I'm willing. And the key is, this is not just the key in effective meditation, which is really the beginning of so many wonderful things for you. This is the key to creating anything that matters to you. Don't put so much effort in it. That's why we explain to you the creative process, step 1, step 2, step 3. 1 is ask. 2 is source answers. 3 is you got to receive it. You got to allow it. So if you're asking, you're not allowing. And so if you get too heady about it, you're in the way of it. If you're trying too hard, you see. So sort of kick back and cool your jets and relax and let it be loud before you hear it. In other words, don't say, I think source is talking to me. Wait. Shh. I think source is talking to me. What? Because by then it's gone. Just listen. It's not going anywhere. We haven't got anything to do but you. Just relax and listen. And let it be what it is. And don't try to make it be more than what it is. Here's a good thing to say. Don't try to be readier than you're ready. Don't fake it. Don't pretend it for someone else. Don't rush it. Let it be whatever it is, because whatever it is enough. And you know why? Because it's got to be. It's got to be enough, because it's all it is. You can't make it more. You can't make yourself readier by trying harder. You'll make yourself less ready by trying harder. Meditation is quieting the mind, not thinking about quieting the mind. It's quieting the mind. It's not being mad that you haven't quieted your mind. It's quieting the mind. It's not, oh, there, I think I heard something. That's not quieting the mind. That's jumping in too soon. Just relax. This is a good thing. When you wake up in the morning, stay in bed while the bed's moving a little bit, or in the night if you wake up. It's a nice thing. In other words, just relax. We're just going to jump in with this just so that we make sure that we punctuate this. Effort is not the friend of the receiving mode. Effort is the response of someone trying to make something happen rather than allowing something to happen. Because when you tap into this energy, then you have the leverage of the energy that creates worlds working with you. It'd be like when you're moving your vehicle down the highway, you never feel the impulse to get under the hood and work with the belts a little. You let the engine be the engine and you do your part, yes? Sort of the same thing. All right.
I received images that I think came from source, but yet, I haven't really trusted that they came from source.
Well, we want to say to you, that is almost always the case. When you start receiving images, you've got to be in a high frequency in order to be translating like that. So that's a logical assumption.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I guess that's all I have.
Really
except,
good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's great.
Really good.
Good day. When you talked about instinct, I love that so much because I have such an affinity for animals and nature, and I see them as alignment, that they're always in the receptive mode. So I wear a lot of animal print because it just makes me happy. And of course he mentioned Albie Einstein, and the quote. Well, another quote that he talks about is imagination, and how great it is, and how so much of...
And before you go further,
Yes.
and maybe it's where you're headed.
Yes.
We might be jumping in ahead of you. Imagination is the receiving mode.
Yes.
And humans don't get that.
Right.
They think that they conjure their
Yes.
imagination. You don't.
Yeah.
You receive it.
I know. It's so good. And so this imagination, I feel everything is imagined. We're imagined. I feel so,
So you're talking about the vortex that existed before the manifestation. So there was some thought before. We're asking you this, and it is likely that you will know the answer to this. So when we talk about this vortex, you know what you don't want, you know what you do want, and you've thrown over this lifetime and many before, many things into this vortex, this vibrational reality. And law of attraction has been gathering the cooperative components. So the cooperative components have been already gathered, and they are more than the individual pieces, because they're playing off of one another. When you think a thought, the thought thinks. So now this mix of creation has taken place, and your inner being is there with all of it, understanding it. This is an important, we haven't talked like this
good.
before.
I can feel this coming.
So your inner being is with all of your cooperative components. Your inner being is focusing upon these cooperative components. Your inner being is the point of attraction for these cooperative components. So your individual asks, your individual desires have actually become more than you can in any moment comprehend. But you're ready for some of it. And so whatever, through meditation, as you quiet your mind, whatever you're ready for, that's when your inner being, who knows what you're ready for, begins to offer a presentation of thought that you are ready for. Isn't it lovely to know the cooperative and the co-creative partner that you're dancing with? That should ring your bells in a big way to know. Now, does it make you feel like a puppet on a string? Shouldn't, because everything in there you put there. Everything in there you sifted and sorted from life. Everything in there you thought in step one into being. You asked it into being, and Source answered it into being. And now you're doing this step 3 part, the best part, the 90% part of your life. Remember? The part where you get tuned in and you receive the impulses to explore it, to discover it, to turn every corner and meet it. Yeah.
And so what I was wanting to reach for more about the imagination, that inspired imagination. So when you're, especially since...
Say it again?
The inspired things that you get through imagination.
See, the imagination that inspired the imagination, what were you getting at?
Just the playfulness, especially kids, they have such amazing opportunities when they take the time.
But think about why, because they've got this vortex and they're ready to be ready. They're ready to be ready. They haven't blocked it with all of the rules and all of the negative expectation.
Doesn't matter, that stuff.
Yeah.
And so imagination, it's that inspired idea. And so for me, when I'm meditating, I love just getting into that detached feeling.
Well, let's say it better. Imagination is not only an inspired idea. That goes without saying. It's in the vortex. It's a received idea. Because you're the one that allows the imagery. Because you're the one that's got the projector in your head. It's in there, but it cannot come out and be part of your world without your cooperation.
Being receptive to it, being in the
Did
vicinity.
you get that?
Yeah, that's so good.
How are you feeling about this conversation? The reason that we want to know is because we are way out there on the leading edge. And if you're grasping this, in other words, turning thoughts to things is a pretty interesting conversation to have in a physical world. A world that's used to just sorting and sifting beads and putting them into piles and judging which pile's the best and which pile's the most value and which pile's the prettiest. In other words, when you realize the possibilities. So now what?
And so I want to touch a little bit more on the animal thing. I just felt inspired to ask about sentience. And I think there's this connection that we all feel a little closer to certain animals like whales and dolphins for me, and maybe I'm speaking for other people. Is there a relationship to us that we have, maybe a similarity with the sentience part of it, where we have access to connect to animals in a way that maybe more than others some?
Well, the more like them you are, then the more you relate to them. You relate to each other in different ways too. But we wouldn't spend too much time, because there is the potential now of doing to the animal kingdom sort of what you do to each other, sorting them into piles and so forth. And we think you would be better served with the general concept of they are more receptive.